So you open AI like we did today, print document, I'm going to name it poster. Of course you can select the size here or you can change it. We're going to just go with 8.5 by 11, which is a letter, like a regular sheet of paper for now. If you want to upsize it, no problem using Illustrator. However, if you're going to use any bitmap images, anything that you've taken a photograph of, and you want to upsize those out of Illustrator, those are going to get pixelated. So why don't we just go with the poster size format. We'll make it 24 inches tall, and let's make it 19 inches wide. So more of a poster size. Okay. This thing here, this box, once again, this is the artboard. Anything that you draw outside of this, it shows up like that. However, it will get cropped off by the printer. Okay, Command Z, that's undo. You can do undo infinitely in Illustrator. In Photoshop, you can only go back one step, and then you have to use the history palette. So what's kind of cool about Illustrator is you can hit Command Z or Control Z on the PC as many times as you want to go back. I have my layers palette open over here, once again, just like Photoshop. It's in the window. Okay, what I want to talk about is bringing in a bitmap image. So I'm going to go to File and go to Place. You can drag and drop images onto Illustrator, but what you'll do is you'll lose all of your color swatches. Okay, you'll lose all of image. And I'm going to select this guy because it's a pretty big image. Okay, just so you know, those swatches, they're right here. Okay, so this is a fairly large image, you can see, and you just found this on the internet. What I'm going to do is select it with the selection tool. And the selection tool is just sort of a general selection tool. You can just click on things and it selects them. Selection tool. Okay, and to scale this, I'm going to hold down Shift and it will scale it proportionally. You can make adjustments. You make it a little bit fatter, and that doesn't look too weird. This guy just got a little bit bigger, but it doesn't look grossly out of proportion. You're going to see up here at the top you have Embed, Edit Original, or Live Trace. You're going to want to embed this. Essentially what this does is it unlinks this file. It makes this image file here part of our Adobe Illustrator. This is a bitmap image, and of course you can scale it in Illustrator and it doesn't look too different. When you scale it and then print it, it's going to pixelate. You're going to want to avoid that. So you always want to choose an image, and you know how to resize based on what we did in the last class, your image to whatever your poster is going to be. And so, this is 24 inches tall, it's about 2 feet. This is a really large picture. Okay, the layers palette, just like Photoshop, you can create new layers just by clicking this little tab down here. And you're going to want to do this basically to organize yourself. Illustrator will let you just, create shapes and put in text and so on and so forth until you're blue in the face, and if you don't create a new layer, it will just put it down into a sub-layer, which here we have layer 1, and within that layer we have an image, right? It'll say linked here if you didn't embed it. Just embed it, trust me. Okay, layer 2, I'm going to put in a title here, and so I'm going to choose text, and you can see when I click on the artboard here, it gives me options to go with larger font sizes. I can change from italic, regular, bold, semi-italic, so on. Here it gives you a list of different characters, but you can't tell what they look like, so I suggest going to this menu up here. Type, font, and select something that you think will work. I'll just do Comic Sans. Choose regular. You can also select the color of this font. I'll just do black for right now. Maybe I'll make it a little bigger, right? I'll make it 60. Okay, a couple things here. If you choose a font that's really kind of funny or weird and it isn't available on another computer, sometimes your best bet is to just select the font like I've done here and convert it from a font to an object. And to do that, you go to the Type menu, Create Outlines. And you can see when we zoom in, it changes it to an object with paths and anchors. Okay. Remember, command plus, command minus. A couple other things you're going to want to do is maybe, a white background is boring, it looks unfinished. You're going to want to put a background in there. So I'll just create a new layer, and I'll use my rectangle tool, and maybe for a fill color, remember this side up here is fill, this one is a stroke, which is an outline, but we want to choose a fill. Maybe I don't like any of these swatches, and maybe I want to choose something from the image. So I'm going to click on the eyedropper, and I'm going to come over to this little high point on the cherry here, kind of a desaturated color, and I'll choose that. Oh, by the way, this little hand tool, you can always just go over here and select it, but it's easier just to hold down the space bar for a second. Just can't use that when the text tool is on. Okay, and of course it overlaps all of my image, or my image and my title. So go over to here to layers and move it down in the stacking order. Good enough. Okay, it's a bit intense. It's a bit, it's a bit too red, right? So what you can do is with this selection tool, once again, this black arrow tool, just click on this bad boy, and maybe let's drop the opacity a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit too red. So now I can go over to here. I have this color palette, and if you can't find the color palette, once again, just go to Window, and click on Color. You can move the CMYK sliders around. So maybe I want to darken it down a little bit. I don't know. And maybe what that will do is intensify the image a bit, setting up some more contrast. A little more cyan in there. I don't know. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about is line text, which is what we had here. I just clicked once with the text tool on. See that? And it gave me line text, and I could have typed, and it will just go infinitely from right to left. One of the things you have here in Illustrator is also, if you want to do sort of more of a paragraph format, you can click, drag out, and then release the mouse. And what it will do is create what's called a text box. That'll work. Put returns in where you need them. You can always make the text box bigger. One way to do that is just to use the selection tool. Oops. And just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to make this text box go all the way down here. So any font I write in here, or any kind of wording, will just always return. And of course, you want to create spacing and that sort of thing. This is your basic layout right here. Probably needs to be embellished a bit. It's a little bit dull, it's a little bit boring right now, but it's just the very basic foundation for a poster. And this is what you're going to be working on this week. So, creating something fun, and any problems you have with Illustrator, you'll find some other tutorials online. Okay, see ya.